Hey warrior, close your eyes for a second. Picture yourself standing in front of a mirror, the same face, the same eyes. But they're heavier now. The fire that once burned inside you is just a flicker. You blink, and it hits you. You've been living the same year again and again. Same fears, same excuses, same broken promises whispered to yourself in the dark. Then you hear it tick, tick, tick. It's not just the sound of time passing, it's life escaping. Every second that slips by isn't coming back. Whether you rise or stay stuck, the clock doesn't care, it keeps moving. Another day gone, another dream buried. Marcus Aurelius warned, you could leave life right now. He wasn't being dramatic. He was being honest. Because one day, your story will end. The only question is, will it end with pride or regret? Look around you. The laughter of old friends has gone silent. Jobs you thought would last forever have vanished. Dreams you swore you'd chase someday are still waiting, and someday never comes. The Stoics never waited for the right moment. They understood life doesn't pause. Epictetus said, we suffer not because life is hard, but because we expect it to be easy while you wait for comfort. Your potential is dying. Seneca wrote, it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. You're not running out of life because it's short. You're running out because you're spending it on things that don't matter. So here's the truth. No one is coming to save you. Not your friends. Not your family. Not fate itself. Everyone's fighting their own battles. But that should liberate you because it means the power to change has always been yours. Take a breath. This is the moment you stop living on repeat. Rule 1. Stop waiting for permission to become yourself. This might be the truth that frees you or shatters every excuse you've ever built. Maybe both. No one is coming to give you permission to live the life you dream of. There isn't a hidden authority figure waiting to tap your shoulder and whisper, you're ready now. That moment you keep waiting for, it doesn't exist. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet even he understood that obstacles are not barriers, but teachers. He wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He knew what most of us keep forgetting. Waiting for perfect conditions is just fear pretending to be patience. You tell yourself, I'll start when I have more time. But time keeps running. You whisper, I'll move when I feel confident. But confidence only grows through movement. The truth is simple and cruel. You are waiting to feel ready for a life that will not wait for you. Look around. The world is full of people with extraordinary potential buried inside them, dying quietly beneath the weight of hesitation. Not because they lacked talent or strength, but because they spent their whole lives waiting for someone else's approval, waiting for validation, waiting to be told that it was safe to take up space. Epictetus once told his students, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That single line could change your life if you let it. It means that the price of becoming your true self is letting go of the illusion that everyone must understand or agree with you. Think about it. You start a business. Someone calls you reckless. You change careers. They call you irresponsible. You set boundaries. They call you selfish. And here's the irony, they will judge you no matter what. Play it safe. They'll call you boring. Take risks. They'll call you foolish. Succeed. They'll say, you were lucky. Fail. They'll say they knew it all along. You cannot win the game of approval. So stop playing. The Stoics practiced what they called premeditation of adversity, imagining the worst that could happen, and realizing they could handle it. So do it right now. What's the worst that happens if you stop waiting for permission? Someone laughs, you fail, you look foolish, and then what? You get up, you learn, you grow. That's it. The worst case is still better than dying with regret. You already carry everything you need. Not later. Not someday when you're richer or smarter now. The version of you capable of greatness is already alive inside you, suffocating under layers of doubt. And maybe someday, Seneca said it best, we are more often frightened than hurt. And we suffer more in imagination than in reality. No, your fear of judgment is heavier than judgment itself. Your fear of failure is more painful than the failure you imagine. You are torturing yourself with shadows while real life waits outside the door. So, stop asking for permission and start taking responsibility. When you wait for permission, you surrender your power. When you take responsibility, you reclaim it. Every day you wait. You choose smallness. Every day you act. You choose growth. Write this down and mean it. I am enough. Right now. To begin, take a deep breath. Warrior, this is the moment you finally step forward. Rule 2. Accept that most of your pain is self-inflicted. This is going to sting, but you need to hear it. Most of your suffering isn't happening to you. It's happening because of you. The situations you're stuck in, the relationships that drain you, the dreams you've abandoned, they're not just bad luck. They're the result of choices you made or refused to make. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." We repeat that quote like it's a comforting slogan. But the truth behind it is brutal. It means you are the architect of your misery. Every story you tell yourself, every excuse you protect, every time you refuse to change, you are tightening your own chains. Look honestly at your life right now. That job you despise, you accepted it. You stay in it. You keep showing up. That relationship that drains your spirit, you're choosing to remain. Those extra pounds you hate every meal is a decision. That dream you never start every night you scroll instead of work is a vote against your future. Life didn't trap you. You did. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your judgment of it, and that judgment you can change in an instant. You don't need permission. You just need courage." But here's the uncomfortable part: you've grown addicted to your own suffering. You replay your wounds like favorite songs. You complain not to change, but to confirm your identity as the victim. You bond with others over misery because it feels safe. The Stoics called this voluntary misery pain. We choose because it's familiar. You say you want peace, but deep down, you're terrified of it. Because peace means responsibility, and responsibility means admitting the pain was never just the world's fault, it was partly yours. Think about your worst day last week. Was it truly that bad? Or did you stretch one painful moment into days of self-torment? How much of that pain came from the event, and how much came from you replaying it, exaggerating it, keeping it alive in your head? You turned a spark into a wildfire. You did that, not fate. The Stoics faced horror, exile, poverty, death, and yet they refused to add imaginary pain to real pain. They didn't suffer twice. They dealt with what is, not what if. That's real strength. You are both the prisoner and the guard. You locked yourself in a cell built of excuses, and the key has always been in your hand. But unlocking that door means facing the truth. You could have walked out any time. It means seeing the years you lost because you waited for life to change instead of changing yourself. That realization burns. But on the other side of that burn is freedom. When you stop blaming the universe and start owning your decisions, something miraculous happens. Control returns. You see that every problem is also a chance to practice strength. Every setback is training. Every emotion is feedback. From this day on, every time you feel pain, ask yourself, is this happening to me? Or am I doing this to myself? That single question can change the course of your life. Because the moment you take ownership of your suffering, you stop being its victim and become its master. Write it down to seal it. I am not the prisoner of my pain. I am the author of it. And I can rewrite the story. Rule 3. Comfort is killing your potential. Every single day. You stand at a crossroads between comfort and growth, and most of the time, you choose comfort. That's why you feel stuck. That's why nothing changes. Because your mind and body are wired to protect you, not to evolve you. Comfort feels safe, but it is slowly smothering your potential. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But most people misunderstand this wisdom. They think strength means staying calm when life is peaceful. No real strength is forged when you walk willingly into discomfort. When you face the fire, that fear tells you to avoid. Look at your daily habits. You wake up and reach for your phone, comfort. You eat the same meals, comfort. You avoid the hard conversation, comfort. You skip the workout because it's raining, comfort. You stay in that job that's slowly crushing your spirit, comfort. Every single choice you make for comfort is a vote for your current self, not for the person you could become. Seneca wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest fare and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition I feared?'" He wasn't playing a game. He was training his mind to see discomfort as a teacher, not an enemy. When you practice discomfort on purpose, you strip it of its power. When you step into hardship willingly, you realize it won't kill you, it will sharpen you. Think of the best version of yourself, the one you picture at night when the world is quiet. That person isn't scrolling endlessly. That person isn't hiding from challenges. That person is sweating, struggling, learning, pushing, evolving. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly, yet you live in a world that sells instant everything, instant results, instant pleasure, instant validation. And the more you chase ease, the more fragile you become. You want the rewards of strength without the resistance that builds it. But ease never made anyone extraordinary. Here's the truth you don't want to hear. Every time you choose comfort, you are voting to remain exactly as you are. Every comfortable decision digs the grave of your own potential. You think you're protecting your peace, but you're really selling your future. One day, you'll wake up and realize that the price of all those little comforts was the life you could have built. The Stoics didn't run from pain. They trained for it. They practiced voluntary discomfort so that when involuntary hardship arrived, and it always does, they would not break. They fasted when food was abundant. They walked in the cold on purpose. They faced public shame and stayed calm. They weren't seeking suffering, They were seeking strength. So what if you started today? What if you took a cold shower to remind your body it can endure? What if you stopped hitting snooze and faced the morning like a warrior? What if you did the thing you keep avoiding, that phone call, that workout, that risk? Every act of discomfort is a signal to your brain, I am alive, and I am growing. Discomfort is not your enemy. It is the gatekeeper to every version of greatness you admire. The life you want exists beyond the line of what feels safe. To meet that version of you, you must walk through the fire of challenge. And yes, it burns, but it also transforms. Write this down to anchor it in your mind. I choose growth over comfort every single day. From this day forward, take a deep breath. Step into the hard thing. And watch who you become. Rule 4. Your opinions are not facts, and they're destroying you. Here's something that might shake your entire sense of self. Most of what you believe about your life isn't truth. It's repetition. You've told yourself the same stories so many times that they've hardened into walls. I'm not good enough. I'm unlucky. I always fail. I'll never change. Those aren't facts. They're opinions you've mistaken for truth. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." Read that again. It's not the world that breaks you, it's your interpretation of it. You've turned your thoughts into prisons, and then handed yourself the key without realizing it. Someone criticizes you, and you decide, I'm worthless. That's not truth, it's interpretation. You face rejection and think, I'll never succeed. That's not destiny, it's opinion. You feel fear before trying something new and conclude, I'm not ready. That's not fact. It's just a story you've chosen to believe. Marcus Aurelius practiced radical clarity. He looked at expensive robes and said, This is sheep's wool dyed with shellfish blood. He looked at fine wine and said, This is just fermented grapes. He wasn't cynical, he was peeling away illusion. He understood that most suffering comes not from what things are, but from what we imagine them to be. So, try this now. Think about your biggest problem. Don't dramatize it, just describe it plainly. I owe money. That's different from, I'm drowning in debt. And I'll never escape. I weigh 200 pounds. That's different from, I'm disgusting and no one will love me. See the pattern? The facts are neutral, your judgments make them unbearable. Seneca said, We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. You aren't suffering from the world, you're suffering from your story about the world. You're fighting shadows you created. But here's the beautiful truth. If your opinions created your suffering, then new opinions can create your freedom. You can rewrite the story right now. The person who says, I'm bad at speaking, can instead say, I haven't practiced speaking enough yet. One small shift, completely different outcome. The person who says, I always fail, can instead say, I'm still learning how to succeed. Same history, different meaning. This is what Stoicism means by controlling your mind. It's not fake positivity or denial. It's recognizing that your thoughts are choices, and if you can choose a thought that weakens you, you can also choose one that strengthens you. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. Imagine that even an emperor had to check his own mind daily, because even the powerful can become slaves to their own opinions. starting today, to become the observer of your thoughts. Catch every sentence that begins with I am, I can't, I never, I always. Those phrases build the walls of your prison. Question them, challenge them, rewrite them. You don't need to wait for someone to tell you who you are. You've been the author all along. Change the story, and the world you see will change with it. Write this down and make it your mantra. My thoughts are choices. My opinions are not truth. I see reality clearly, and I choose strength over illusion. Rule 5. Stop performing your life for an audience that doesn't exist. You're exhausted, and deep down, you already know why. You're not just living, you're performing. You wake up every morning and put on a mask. Every action, every word, every post passes through an invisible filter. What will they think of me? And that question has stolen more happiness than failure ever will. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others. Think about that. You claim to care about yourself, but you torture your own soul trying to impress people who don't even think about you. Here's the truth. Most people aren't watching you. They're too busy worrying about who's watching them. You're performing for an audience that mostly exists inside your head. The person you're trying to impress is likely scrolling through their own insecurities, wondering what you think of them. Everyone's trapped in the same illusion, the fear of judgment. You've played this role for so long that you've forgotten who you really are. You buy things not because you want them, but because you want to be seen having them. You chase achievements not because they fulfill you, but because they look good on paper. You post the highlight reel of your life while feeling empty behind the curtain, and you wonder why you feel tired. Performing is exhausting. Epictetus said it simply, if you wish to be a writer, write. If you wish to be a good person, act as one. Straightforward. No audience needed. But we complicate everything. We don't write because we love writing. We write because we want to be seen as writers. We don't exercise because it feels good. We do it to collect admiration. We don't live to experience life. We live to prove that our life matters to people who are barely paying attention. You've turned your existence into a performance that never ends. But the applause you're waiting for will never come, because there is no audience, just echoes of your own fear. Seneca asked, how long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? Not the most impressive version, the truest one. The version that doesn't need validation to breathe. The version that can sit alone, content, without the need for likes, approval, or praise. At first, when you stop performing, people might not understand. They might say, you've changed, and you have. You've stopped being their puppet. Some will walk away. Let them. They weren't attached to your authenticity, only to your performance. When the mask falls, the wrong people leave, and the right ones finally see you. And then something incredible happens. Peace. The kind of peace that doesn't come from being liked, but from finally liking yourself. You begin to realize that the only audience that ever mattered is you. Marcus Aurelius led an empire under the watchful eyes of millions. Yet he reminded himself daily, we all love ourselves more than others, but care more about their opinion than our own. Even the most powerful man alive fought the same battle, the war between external approval and inner truth. You don't have to play this game anymore. You don't have to live up to expectations that were never yours. You can be messy. You can be real. You can be imperfect and still be worthy. The right people will love you, not despite your authenticity, but because of it. Write this down to free yourself. I live for truth, not performance. I am done acting for an audience that doesn't exist. Take off the mask, step off the stage, and finally, come home to yourself. Rule 6. Death is not your enemy. Forgetting Yuldi is. You live as if tomorrow is guaranteed, as if time is infinite, as if death is polite enough to wait for your schedule, but it isn't. You're not afraid of dying. You're afraid of realizing that you haven't really lived. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He wasn't being dark. He was being real. Because one day, maybe sooner than you think, that quote becomes literal. And every moment you waste on fear, distraction, or anger is one less moment you'll ever get back. Every sunrise is borrowed. You didn't earn it. You're simply blessed to wake up again. Yet what do you do with that miracle? You scroll. You complain. You say, "I'll start tomorrow." But tomorrow is the most dangerous word in existence. It's the graveyard of dreams. The Stoics practiced memento mori. Remember, you must die. They kept skulls on their desks, not out of morbid obsession, but to remember the urgency of life. Death was not their fear. Death was their reminder. Think about someone you've lost: a parent, a friend, a love. Remember the last time you saw them. If you had known it was the final moment, would you have said something different? Would you have hugged them longer, looked them in the eyes and said what you never dared to say? You didn't know. You thought there was more time. There's always more time until there isn't. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Look honestly at yesterday. How many hours did you give to worry, anger, or meaningless distraction? If yesterday had been your last, would you be proud of how you spent it? The tragedy isn't death itself, it's the unlived life, the unfinished book, the unsaid words, the love never expressed, the risk never taken, the forgiveness withheld. It's the quiet weight of, "I could have, but I didn't." That's what haunts people in their final moments, not fear, but regret. The Stoics knew that fearing death is really just fearing truth. When you live half-heartedly, death feels unfair. But when you live fully aligned with your values, chasing what matters, loving deeply, death loses its power. You stop fearing the end because you're finally living the middle. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Stop saying you'll start later. Stop waiting for perfect timing. Stop acting like you have 10,000 tomorrows. You are dying right now." As you read this, every second that passes is one you'll never get back. That truth shouldn't scare you. It should wake you up. Ask yourself, if I had 1 year left, how would I live? 6 months? 1 month? 1 week? The truth is, you have no idea how much time is left, which means the answer should always be the same. Live now. From this moment, let death be your teacher, not your enemy. When you're about to waste an hour, ask, is this how I want to spend my limited time? When you hold a grudge, ask, is this worth carrying to my grave? When you postpone a dream, ask, what am I waiting for? Death is not cruel. It's the most honest thing in existence. It's the mirror that forces you to see what matters. Let it burn away your distractions and illuminate your purpose. Write this down and feel it. I will not fear death. I will fear wasting the time I still have. You can't add more years to your life, but you can add more life to your years. Starting now. Rule 7. Your emotions don't control you. You're just too weak to control them. This one is going to hit hard. You are not a victim of your emotions. You are a participant in them. Every time you say, I can't help how I feel, you're lying to yourself. You can help it. You just haven't built the strength to. Epictetus wrote, it is not events that disturb people, but their judgments concerning them. Your emotions don't fall from the sky. They're born from the stories you tell yourself about what happened. Someone insults you, and you decide. It means disrespect. Anger appears. Someone ignores you, and you decide. It means rejection. Sadness follows. It's not the event, it's your interpretation that builds the storm. We live in a culture that glorifies emotion and excuses weakness. People say, I was too angry. I couldn't control myself, as if rage were a thunderstorm that possessed them. Or, I'm too anxious to try, as if fear were a cage built by fate instead of their own thoughts. But anger doesn't control you. You choose to feed it. Anxiety doesn't paralyze you. You allow it to. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's not a pretty quote to post online. It's a command. You can't control the world, but you can master your reaction to it. That mastery is the difference between freedom and slavery. Think about the last time you exploded in anger. What really happened? Someone said something, and in a heartbeat, you built a story. They disrespected me. They don't care. They're wrong. And before you knew it, your body obeyed the story. The Stoics called this moment the discipline of assent. The space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your power. You can pause. You can question. You can ask, is this worth my peace? Is this worth losing my dignity? Is this person's opinion worth my serenity? And most of the time, the answer is no. Seneca wrote, the greatest remedy for anger is delay, not suppression. Not pretending you don't feel it, but refusing to act on it immediately. Pause long enough to choose wisdom over impulse. The weak person says, that's just how I am. The strong person says, I choose who I am. Every emotion is a messenger, not a master. Fear tells you where your courage is needed. Anger tells you what you value. Sadness tells you what you've loved and lost. But when you let these emotions steer your life, you become their servant. You feel fear but still act with courage. You feel anger but still speak with calm. You feel sadness but still show up for life. That's emotional discipline, not the absence of feeling, but the refusal to surrender to it. The truth is, you don't need to be emotionless. You need to be emotionally strong. That means taking ownership of your inner world with the same responsibility you take for your outer actions. Stop saying, I can't help it. You can. You just won't yet. Start now. The next time you feel a rush of emotion, stop and breathe. Ask, is this feeling serving me? Or am I serving it? Then decide. That single pause, that one breath, can save you from 1,000 regrets. Write this down and own it. I feel my emotions fully, but I control my actions completely. That's not coldness, that's power. Rule 8. You're obsessed with things you can't control. And it's making you miserable. Here's why you're constantly anxious, frustrated, and drained. You're trying to control a world that refuses to be controlled. You're wasting your energy wrestling with reality instead of working with it. Epictetus gave humanity the most important distinction in philosophy. Some things are within our control, and others are not. That single sentence could free your entire life if you truly lived by it. Your opinions, your choices, your effort, your attitude, those are yours. Everything else, what people think of you, how the weather turns, what tomorrow brings, none of that belongs to you. But instead of mastering what's ours, we obsess over what isn't. We replay arguments in our heads, trying to rewrite what was already said. We scroll through other people's lives, wishing ours looked different. We lose sleep over futures that may never happen. Even Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, a man with power over millions, had to remind himself daily, accept whatever comes to you, woven in the pattern of your destiny. For what could more aptly fit your needs? He understood that control is an illusion. The universe doesn't take orders, not even from kings. Look at your own stress right now. Be honest. You're worried about how someone will react, whether your plan will succeed, whether you'll be loved, respected, remembered. None of those things are fully within your control, yet you hand them the keys to your peace every single day. Seneca saw this same madness centuries ago. He wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." You're not crushed by life. You're crushed by your thoughts about life. You create entire catastrophes in your head before anything even happens. And by the time reality arrives, you've already lived it 1,000 times in fear. Here's the truth. Control is not power. Acceptance is. When you stop trying to manipulate what you can't control, you rediscover your strength in what you can. You can't control if someone likes you, but you can control whether you live with integrity. You can't control the outcome, but you can control the effort. You can't control the storm, but you can control how you sail through it. The Stoics practiced something called the dichotomy of control. Before reacting to anything, they paused and asked, "Is this within my control or not?" If not, they let it go immediately. No argument, no resistance, just release. Try that right now. Think about the biggest source of stress in your life. Ask yourself, can I control this? If the answer is no, release it. Let it fall away. Feel that lightness. That's freedom. The more you cling, the more you suffer, the more you accept, the more you grow. Peace doesn't come from dominating the world. It comes from mastering yourself. Your boss's mood, not your control. Your partner's opinion, not your control. The weather, the traffic, the past, the future, all outside your grasp. But your response? Always yours. When you finally stop fighting what is and start focusing on what can be changed, life becomes lighter. You waste less time arguing with reality and more time shaping your destiny. Write this in your heart. I release what I cannot control, and I master what I can. That's not surrender. That's true strength. Rule 9. Your comfort zone is a slow death. You think you're living, but you're not. You're surviving. You wake up, repeat the same safe routine, Stay within the walls of what feels familiar, and call that life. But comfort doesn't protect you, it quietly destroys you. Every day you choose comfort over challenge. You trade potential for paralysis. Every time you avoid discomfort, your world gets smaller. That's not safety, that's a slow death. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." But he didn't mean hide from the world or retreat into ease. He meant face what's in front of you, especially the things that scare you. Growth doesn't happen in the center of your comfort, it lives on its edges, where fear and resistance meet opportunity. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort. Seneca would sleep on the ground, eat plain food, and wear rough clothes. He wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition I feared?'" He wasn't punishing himself, he was training for life. Because when you practice hardship loses its power. Modern life has made us weak. Our ancestors faced cold, hunger, predators, uncertainty, and those struggles forged resilience. Now we have climate control, food delivery, entertainment on demand, and yet we crumble at the first sign of difficulty. We've mistaken comfort for happiness, but comfort only numbs. Look at what you're avoiding right now. The conversation you keep postponing, the project you're too scared to start, the habit you know you should change. You call it waiting for the right time. But that's just fear disguised as patience. Every day you delay, your courage decays a little more. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show what men are. You don't discover your strength in ease, you discover it in the struggle. In the moment when your mind screams stop and your soul whispers keep going, take a cold shower. Speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. Go for the run when you don't feel like it. Sit with discomfort until it stops scaring you. Because the truth is, you will never feel ready. And that's exactly why you must begin now. Comfort is seductive because it feels safe, but it's a liar. It tells you, you're fine here, while quietly stealing your fire, your ambition, your hunger for more. And one day, you'll wake up and realize that comfort has taken everything, your passion, your purpose, your edge. The Stoics didn't train for pain, they trained for freedom. When you stop fearing discomfort, you stop being controlled by it. You become unbreakable. Write this down and let it echo in your mind. I choose growth over comfort. I choose the fire that forges me, not the pillow that dulls me. Because comfort won't kill you all at once. It will do it slowly, quietly, while you're busy feeling fine. No. And one day, fine becomes your tomb. Rule 10. You're waiting for motivation. But discipline is what you actually need. This might hurt to hear, but motivation is a lie. You've been taught to wait for a spark, a perfect wave of energy that will push you into action. You keep saying, "I'll start when I feel ready." But that feeling, it's not coming. Motivation is temporary, discipline is forever. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the most powerful empire on earth, wrote in his journal, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for?" Even an emperor had to drag himself out of bed some mornings. He didn't wait to feel motivated. He acted out of duty. That's the secret. Disciplined people aren't more inspired than you. They've just trained themselves to act without needing inspiration. They don't ask, "Do I feel like it?" They ask, "Is this who I said I'd be?" Epictetus said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Notice the order. Decide who you are first, then act like it, especially when you don't feel like it. That's the bridge between who you are and who you could become. Think about every goal you've ever quit: the workout plan, the business idea, the promise to yourself. You started strong because you felt motivated. Then the spark faded, and you stopped. You thought motivation was the engine, but it's not. It's just the ignition. The real engine is discipline. Discipline is doing what needs to be done when you don't want to do it. It's writing when you have no ideas. It's training when you're tired. It's being kind when you're angry. It's choosing consistency over comfort. Seneca wrote, "While we wait for life, life pass." That's what happens when you wait for motivation. Your life passes. You wait to feel confident before you start. You wait to feel inspired before you create. You wait for courage before you act. And while you wait, your potential rots in silence. The Stoics didn't rely on moods. They built habits. They didn't wait for bravery. They practiced it until it became who they were. They didn't wait for clarity. They acted and found clarity through motion. You're not lazy. You're just addicted to the illusion that action must feel good to count. But here's the truth. Discipline doesn't always feel good, but it always leads somewhere good. Imagine this. You wake up early, even though you want to sleep. You push through a hard workout. You face the thing you fear. You sit down and work when no one's watching. That's not punishment, that's freedom. Because discipline isn't the opposite of freedom, it creates freedom. Motivation fathers. Discipline compounds. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, you strengthen your character. You build proof that you are dependable, that you can trust yourself. And self-trust, not motivation, is what changes your life. Write this and repeat it until it becomes your truth. I don't wait for motivation. I build discipline every single day. Because the ones who change their lives aren't the ones who feel ready, they're the ones who act regardless. You don't need a spark. You need a standard. You've now faced 10 brutal truths not to punish you, but to wake you up. The Stoics never wrote for comfort. They wrote to shatter illusions. These lessons were never meant to be soft. They were meant to save you. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That single line is the essence of everything you've just heard. You don't need another quote, another speech, or another moment of inspiration. You need to begin, because that's what separates dreamers from doers, not belief, but action. You can nod along to every word, feel powerful for 20 minutes, and then go right back to the same fears, the same excuses, the same comfortable prison. Or you can decide, truly decide, that today is the line in the sand. The Stoics didn't live perfect lives. They lost children. They were exiled, betrayed, beaten, silenced, and yet they died with peace, not because they were spared from pain, but because they faced it fully. They didn't run from life's harshness. They transformed it into wisdom. Seneca's final moments were calm and fearless. Forced to take his own life, he didn't panic. He simply said, "The wise man will live as long as he ought, not as long as he can." He left this world without bitterness because he had already lived completely. No potential left untapped. No words left unspoken. Ask yourself, if your life ended today, would you feel the same? Would you say, I lived, or I waited? Every hour you hesitate, every idea you postpone, every dream you shelf for someday, you are digging the grave of your own potential. And someday is a lie. The weak tell themselves to justify doing nothing. You don't need the world to change. You don't need more time, more money, or more certainty. You need courage right now to act, despite not having any of those things. Action is the cure for fear. Action is the bridge between philosophy and reality. Action is the only proof that you understand any of this. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. The clock has been ticking since you were born. The question is, will you let it count down your excuses or your achievements? Right now, you have two paths. One leads to regret, the other to rebirth. Regret is comfortable, predictable, easy. It whispers, tomorrow. Rebirth is terrifying, it screams, now. But it's the only voice that leads to life. The Stoics believed in one kind of transformation, the kind that begins when you stop talking about change and start embodying it. Write this in the comments. Or better yet, carve it into your soul. Today, I begin living. No more wasted years. No more waiting. No more excuses. You don't need permission. You just need to start, because your life, your real life, is waiting, and the only person who can save it is you.